Yes, guys. So this is the best game I've ever played in my chess career, and I'll get to the game shortly. But just before, I want to give you a little bit of context so you guys understand what's going on here. So this was in a team match. I played for Club Scotland against Club France. So it was in a daily format. So both players have access to theory, and you have a lot of time to think about your moves. So I was able to think about and sort of plan my lines, and in the end, play really well. Like, this game was a 90 accuracy game by me. I think it was like 70 by my opponent, but I managed to win pretty quickly and with some quite amazing moves. I'm sure you'll agree. So my opponent played c5, which is the Sicilian move I actually play. I again tried to go to Smith-Morra Gambit. He plays e6. He must be maybe a Taimanov player or a Khan Sicilian player. E6 is move typical of those sort of Sicilians. So I decided to push because this is similar in the Gambit. If they don't take, you just want to push, try and disrupt their center. He goes d6, which is actually the best move. So it doesn't really harm me. I just get my knight out. He gets his knight out, and I get my knight as well. So basically, in the opening, both players just been developing their pieces well and trying to move their pawns so they can get their pieces out. So pretty good so far. But the funny thing is, this is actually transposed into another opening. So I think from this point, it turns from a Sicilian into a Benoni, which is a similar opening. It's like a different sort of system. It's where black plays c5 against d4. So kind of interesting because obviously I don't know any Benoni theory. I'm not a Benoni player. I'm not a d4 player, but thankfully due to the format of the game, we were both able to access theory because it was a daily. Because you're allowed to use book moves and such, but you're not allowed to cheat with engine obviously. But you can use theory. So I took back my knight. Again, the opponent recaptured with his knight, and I took with the queen because obviously it's best to get another piece out instead of taking with the pawn because this would just open up my king and it's a bit nasty. So he develops his knight, and another best move, and I get my bishop up. So this is actually an inaccuracy according to the engine, but I chose this line on purpose. I saw that it scored really well. Like people who played this one a lot of the time in the master games, I was able to see with that at a quick glance, you can see how many percentage people win, draw, or lose. So I thought I'd go down this path because it looked quite interesting. So he played the best move bishop e6, which I had seen. I'd looked at these lines, so I could drop my queen back to d3, and he just jumps in with his knight, which I thought was a little bit strange because this move sort of just attacks the queen. You can say it also attacks the pawn here, but honestly, I don't really think that that's a big issue because I can always just move my queen and it's defended anyway. So I thought that was a bit weird. I can't lie. And he sort of wants to trade my bishop, which again comes up later in the game. So I saw my queen was attacked. I just checked. I think this was somewhere in the line of moves, or maybe I just thought of this myself. I think I was just thinking something along the lines of, if I can trade off this bishop, and this pawn's quite weak, and I can get my rook there, maybe that's my long-term plan. I can't quite remember, but bishop b5 is what I played. So I saw this. This is pretty shocking. If you're a chess player who's played a lot of games, he says you're like, what? King e7? And I was like, yeah, it's pretty crazy move to be honest. I was expecting him to block the check with a bishop or something, but I guess he didn't want to do that and decided to move his king. But can't knock the guy who's best move, so to be fair, but I think this move kind of ends up in his downfall, even though it was best. So it kind of goes to show playing like the engine doesn't always help you because the engine always finds him in these sort of positions. But for a human, now you can't castle and your king is kind of exposed. So we'll see what happens there. So I drop my queen back because obviously it was attacked, but making sure to still defend that key c2 square so I don't get forked and lose my rook with check, which would be a bit nasty. And then here, according to Lichess database, how do we look? Lichess database, you can look at every game we've played, so it's about 3 billion games. So 3 billion games. This is completely new. It's never been played before after a6. So quite cool to think about. So I move the bishop back. He plays. Actually, no, that was a completely move to theory. And then at d5, this is a completely new move according to Lichess. So this has never been played before. So you guys are seeing a completely new game. So d5 is a blunder because I can just take that, as you think. And everyone sees a pawn they can take and wants to take it. So I just took that. And after knight takes, this position's quite nasty because this knight looks well protected. I mean, at a glance it does because you have the queen and the bishop. But the thing to note is the bishop's actually pinned to the king. You see, because of the queen's attack on this row, or this file even, the bishop can't move because if the bishop moved, I would take the king. So the bishop legally can't move. So he can only recapture with the queen. And say I took this with a rook, he would have to recapture with the queen, and then you don't want to do that because you might end up losing the queen. So I should go bishop g5 check with that idea of getting a rook here because I thought he can block with a pawn, which is what he did. Apparently, he's meant to go with the knight. He could block with a pawn, but I'm just going to get my rook on the file. I missed a pretty gangster move here, I will admit. I could have long castled Paul Morphy style, which is pretty sick, getting the rook on the open file and getting my king safe, but unfortunately didn't see that, but that would have been pretty cool. So here he decides to move his king over, doesn't take my bishop, because he sees that there's quite a lot of danger here with the bishop being pinned and all, and my bishop has a lot of pressure along this diagonal. So he moves his king, best move, credit to the guy, and I just castle. And the reason I chose to castle here instead of going charging and move like 95 check, which looks pretty weird, is because I was looking at a few lines, and I saw that if once he could defend with his queen, and it would pin my queen to my king. Because as you see, if he goes here, my queen's pinned, and ends up in a trade, and my attack sort of stalled out, and the lines didn't look very interesting. So I decided to castle, so I'd keep my attacking options open, and maybe get my other rook in the game. But 95's cool. If you look at 95, you think, well, wait, now you're hanging two pieces, you bozo. What are you doing? But if he takes the knight, his queen's hanging, so he can't do that. And if he takes, and he can't take the bishop with his check. So, yeah. See if we go back. Anyway, we're not looking at that line. So what happened in the game? Sorry, we're switching timelines here. Well, this is what happened back to what happened in the game. So he took my bishop. He said, "So I don't know why he's sacrificing here. Seems a bit weird. I'm just going to take that." But Engine says that's a mistake. So why is that a mistake? That's a mistake because I can do this. Go rook fe1. So much pressure on this diagonal. How do you even defend this bishop? You can maybe move your queen, but then this is hit, and you can't defend this. So he's in a bit of a pickle here, I can't lie. And knights are flying in with check, and he's in a world of hurt. So that's actually what he played in the position. And I played knight g5 check. Now, this is just, I think, probably one of the best moves I played in my chess career. But chess.com didn't give it a brilliant, so we're going to change that right now. I'm going to give it a brilliant. Why? Because I guess I'm just a loose cannon, and it's my video. So that's brilliant now. And I just thought it was brilliant because he can actually take the knight. This is a clean sacrifice of a knight, but if he takes a knight, I actually have mate in one. So he takes the knight, the queen is not defending the bishop, and I can take that for checkmate in one, which I've already shown you. Pretty cool mate, because these pieces actually block the king, so his own pieces are hurting him. You have this kind of trident kind of mating pattern, which is pretty cool. It's not one you see very often. And also, if you go back, he can go here, but I was just looking. I was looking at the sort of options I had, and basically what happens is I just take this knight and end up winning this one, or pinning his queen, because obviously I have the rook and the queen here. So pretty nasty stuff for him to deal with. So I had another look at these lines, and I saw that if he goes out here, it always leads to mate. Engine actually agrees with me. It says it's mate in 5. So pretty cool, pretty accurate calculation from me. So I decided to check on f3 because that's opened up a lot of options, and I'm sacrificing another piece here. He can take the knight, and he did. So I've sacrificed 2 pieces in one game, as you see in the thing on the right. Thought I was bloody Magnus Carlsen. So I check with the rook, again cutting off more squares, and here I don't go jumping in with the queen because that lets him get back in here, and it's a bit messy. I decide to keep the king cut off from this row, and the king's cut off here as well, and I actually check with the bishop, and this is where he resigned, because this is actually mate in 2. So the mate in 2 is he would block with the bishop, lose the bishop, he has to go to h5, only move, and then queen h5 is checkmate, protected by the rook. So that would have been a cool ending, but he resigned, so we didn't get to see that. But yeah, pretty cool. And also, in these lines that I was calculating, another interesting detail is the fact that if he tries to block with his bishop at any stage, like Engine wanted him to block with the bishop here, but thing is you just lose your queen, so no human really wants to play a move like that. So yeah, interesting to see. Anyway guys, I thought that was a really good game, really interesting. I played that at 90 accuracy, so it's a very high level. I hope you guys can learn a few things from that, or at least enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one.